Hello everyone and welcome to Life Begins at 20. My name is Mark and we have episode 9 of MTG Cubed. In this episode we're going to be going over the colourless creatures that I have within my cube, whether they are artifacts, colourless creatures like your Eldrazi, and vehicles are going to be summarised in this as well, so stay tuned for that. As always, if you have any suggestions for me of improvements I can make to my cube and which cards to take out, feel free to do so, as it's really helped me to develop my cube. I've got a load of improvements done so far, especially for my white section, and I'm going to go through as the videos carry on when I have a little bit more money to improve the other sections as well, so thank you all for your suggestions for that. At the time of recording this I was at 399 subscribers, so thank you all so much for getting me to this distance, and I hope that over the next couple of days as you're watching this, we'll get over that 400 mark, and that'll be absolutely fantastic. And that's just one step closer to hitting 1,000 subscribers, which is what I'm after by the end of this year. So I think that's probably doable. As always, if you like the video, do hit that thumbs up button, and if you haven't subscribed already, do hit that subscribe button as I bring out new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Thank you all, and now we're going to get stuck into the cards. Starting with the only one drop I have within the colourless creatures, we've got Bomat Courier here. So for one, it's a 1/1 with haste, which is really nice there for an aggressive style deck. Whenever it attacks, exile the top card of your library face down. You can pay 1 red, discard your hand, sacrifice it, and put all the cards exiled with Bomat Courier into its owner's hands. So again, not necessarily a red card for me because you can be able to splash that red mana fairly easily anyway, but the 1/1 for 1 with haste suits well into a red aggro deck anyway, so it's quite nice there. If you can get in for a lot of work, discarding in your hand, if you know, to get yourself a load of cards may well end up being quite useful, especially the fact that if it hits in, say for example 3 times, you've only got say 1 or 2 cards left. If you don't necessarily need them, paying that 1 mana to do that may well be very, very useful for you. Moving on to the 2 drops, as you probably know well by now, I like to have mana rocks within my cube, and this is no difference here. So for 2, it's 0/1 creature, you can tap it for a colourless mana, may well be quite useful to have as well anyway. And there are creatures and things within inside my cube that give +1/+1 counters, or buffing up the creatures overall, like Chief of the Foundry for example for artifact creatures, so you may well be able to end up using this as, you know, a cheap blocker or even an attacker once that it's been buffed up as well. Next up we've got Perilous Myr. So for 2, it's a 1/1. Whenever it is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Perfect little sack outlet there, or a chump blocker. It may just stop your opponent swinging in with something a little bit bigger, just because, you know, this may end up being able to take it out or do the extra bit of damage you need to kill your opponent off. And lastly we've got Scrap Heap Scrounger. So for 2, it's a 3/2 that can't block, doesn't really matter too much, it works really nicely in aggressive style deck. For 1 and a black, exile another creature card from your graveyard, return this from the graveyard to the battlefield. That's really nice to have. Again, you can splash for black, shouldn't be too much of an issue, may well sit better in a black, maybe black-red aggressive style deck there, that you're going to be able to get rid of a lot of creatures, bring this back and do some extra work for you. The recursion of it's really nice, and sacrificing it if needs be, and being able to get it back is very, very useful. Moving on to the 3 drops for my artifacts, we've got Chief of the Foundry. This is the nice alternate artwork you get from the Colourless Holiday Gift Box. So it's a 2/3 and an Anthem on it, which gives all other artifact creatures you control +1/+1. That's really quite nice to have. There are ways to create servo tokens within my cube. There are definitely ways to create Myr tokens as well with the Myr Battlesphere, and all of the other artifact creatures that we have within my cube getting a nice little buff up as well is really nice to have, and the artwork, to be honest, is really nice as well. Next up we've got Electrostatic Pummeler. This thing does a hell of a lot of nice work. So for 3, it's a 1/1. When you enter the battlefield you get 3 energy. Pay 3, Electrostatic Pummeler gets +X/+X until the end of turn, where X is its power. If you're able to pump this up via spells, or even with enchantments along things like that, this could end up getting really, really big. Again, if your cube is able to generate energy a lot better than what mine does, it may end up getting massive. There is the possibility again this might well be better in a constructed deck, just because you'll be able to get yourself energy that much quicker, but he'll still do some pretty decent work for you when your opponent's not really expecting it. Next up we've got Eternal Scourge. So for 3 it's a 3/3 and you may cast it from exile. Whenever it becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, exile him. So this is just a really little irritating creature that you just keep getting back and back and back and back, and I do quite like that. They will have to literally chump block it or something along those lines for it to actually die. So for that kind of thing there, I quite like this. Yeah, you're going to have to keep spending the mana. If they're just literally pinging 1-cost spells at it, may be an issue, but they're going to have to keep doing this because by the time you've got yourself a load of extra mana, you're going to be able to cast this quite often. Next up, we've got Filigree Familiar. So this is one of my favourite cards from Kaladesh for Cube. At the uncommon level. So for 3 it's a 2/2 and enter the battlefield you get 2 life, and whenever it dies you get to draw a card as well, and I just really like that. 2 life, a nice little blocker there, and a card draw, all for 3 mana. I'm more than happy to do that. Next up we've got Foundry Inspector. So for 3 it's a 3/2 and artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. That's quite useful to have as well because there are some very expensive artifact spells, whether that's just normal artifacts or the creatures as well, so that's nice to have there. Next up we've got Pilgrim's Eye. So for 3 it's a 1/1 flyer. When it enters the battlefield you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So it's a nice little mana fix there for you if needs be to try and find a specific card that you're after. On a little flying 1/1 body that may be able to get in for some extra damage if your opponent doesn't have any flyers or things with reach, or it's just a nice little 1/1 blocker as well in the air. Next up we've got Shimmer. So for 3 it's a 2/2 with flash, and you may cast artifact spells as though they had flash. That could be very useful. Just imagine Immerse Battlesphere coming flashed in, or Lotus Petal, or anything really big. Soul Rings and stuff like that being flashed in whenever you need them to get yourself extra mana to be able to do more things is just fantastic. I do like that. And lastly we've got Ticking Gnomes here. So for 3 it's a 3/3, you get to sacrifice it. It deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So really you've got yourself a 3/3 body there, happy to block with it, and you can sacrifice at the end to deal 1 damage. So you may well end up getting a lot of work out of this for you. Pay the echo cost to keep it up to be able to swing in for extra damage if you've got the extra mana as well, so may well be a useful card. Moving on to the 4-drops, we're going to start off with Cogwork Librarian. So for 4 it's a 3/3, you draft it face up. As you draft a card you may draft an additional card from that booster pack. If you do, put Cogwork Librarian into that booster pack's place. So it's quite nice there to be able to get a couple of cards out of something that you really need in the draft scenario and put this back in its place, and I really do like little things like that within the cube that affect the draft as well. Next up we've got Crystalline Crawler. So for 4 it's a 1/1 with Converge, so it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each colour of mana spent on it. So it could end up being easily a 3/3 or 4/4. Remove a +1/+1 counter from it and add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool, or you can tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So if you don't need the mana you can pump this up to become a really big solid creature. To be perfectly honest, I would want to make sure that I'm casting this with 3 colours. I mean, there are a variety of artifacts that are able to generate different colour lands or different colour mana. For example, if you've got yourself a Chromatic Lantern, this is going to be a 4/4 no matter what, to be perfectly honest. You can pump it up to be bigger. Again, there's a +1/+1 counter theme within my cube as well, so there is a way of getting it even bigger. And you could even just dump all the mana in one go to cast something really big as well, so I do like that about it. Next up we've got Juggernaut. So for 4 it's a 5/3, it attacks every single turn if able, and it can't be blocked by walls as well, so it's just a nice aggressive card there that may end up getting in for some extra damage if your opponent's trying to play defensive with walls, because there are a fair few of them in the cube itself. Or it could just get chump blocks every single time. I mean, it doesn't have trample, it doesn't have anything along those lines, but if you manage to give it that, boy, you're going to be doing some good work. Next up we've got Mindless Automaton. So for 4 it's a 0/0, enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Again, there are plenty of ways to get +1/+1 counters within my cube. You can pay 1 discarded card to put a +1/+1 counter on it as well, which is quite nice. Remove 2 +1/+1 counters from it to draw a card. So You can discard cards, pay mana to get it up quite big to be able to do some decent work for you. Or by that point in time when you've got yourself some nice big creatures out and you don't need it anymore, you can remove counters from it to draw cards. Next up we've got Solemn Simulacrum. So for 4 it's 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So that's quite nice there for landfall style decks or just getting yourself some extra mana. And when it dies, you get to draw a card. So this is a really nice target for either flickering or just getting back from the graveyard as well, and as a sacrifice. So you bring it back, sack it again, you're going to get yourself some good work out of it as well. That's quite nice. And lastly, we've got Thought Not Seer. So it's a 4-cost 4/4, but you need a waste to be able to play it, or a colourless mana. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it and exile it, so that's really nice to have. When it leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card. So not only, you'll get yourself a 4/4 body there, which is really nice. You get to remove a really good card from your opponent's hand straight away, which is really nice. And all they're going to be able to do is draw a card when this disappears, so they're not going to get the same card back. So you've got the potential there of getting rid of something absolutely incredible from their hand, and all they end up drawing back is a land card when this dies. So don't have a problem with that. It's really strong. And within my cube anyway, I've made sure that there are ways of getting colourless mana, plus I've put wastes in the basic mana pool that I have, so players can choose to pick up a few of those as well if needs be. Onto the 5 drops, we're going to start off here with Etch Monstrosity. So for 5, it's starts off as a 5/5 because it enters the battlefield with 5 -1/-1 counters on it. If you can pay one of every colour mana, you get to remove those 5 1/1 counters on it, and target player gets to draw 3 cards as well. So if you're able to do that, I mean, there are ways to be able to get every single colour mana if needs be. You're going to get yourself a 10/10 and 3 cards for 10 mana. I have no issues with that at all. Worst case scenario, it's a 5/5/5, and it can still get buffed up with +1/+1 counters if need be. So that's quite a nice card to have in there, and it is possible to get that out. Next up, we've got Kozilek's Channeler. So for 5, it's a 4/4, and you can tap it to add 2 mana to your mana pool. So again, quite versatile in the sense that 4/4 body, so you can swing in for it if you don't need the extra mana, or you can pay 2. You can just tap it for 2 mana as well. Next up, we've got Multiform Wonder. I mean, it looks really nice in foil as well, but that is not the reason why it's in here. So for 5, it's a 3/3 and enters the battlefield with 3 energy counters. You can pay 1 energy to counter, so give it either Flying, Vigilance, Lifelink until the end of turn, or you can pay an energy to give it +2 or -2 or -2/+2. So it can turn out to be a really nice blocker, a really nice aggressive creature, or it's able to block something in the air if needs be, swing in, giving you extra life as well. I mean, if you're able to give it +2, -2 without it being once it's getting through, it's not being blocked, making it a 5/1 with lifelink on top, that's just going to be fantastic. So it's a really versatile card there, and if you can get lots more energy within your cube, ways to be able to get more, you can end up doing a hell of a lot of work, more work for you during the course of the game. Next up, we've got Precursor Golem. So for 5, it's a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, you get to 2 3/3 colourless golem artifact creature tokens. Whenever a player casts an instant sorcery spell that targets only a single golem, that player copies that spell for each other golem that spell could target. Each copy targets a different one of those golems. So yes, it means that removal will then hit all of them, as far as I'm aware, but it then also means that any buffing spells that you have will also hit all of them as well. So you could end up, giving one of them, say +4/+4, for example, with an instant spell. All of them then get +4/+4, and you're going to be able to swing in for a lot of nice extra damage there. Next up, we've got Psychosis Crawler. So for 5, its power and toughness is equal to the number of cards in your hand. Again, if you're going to get yourself lots of extra card draw, it's going to be quite big. Else, it's going to come on quite small, and it will change over the course of the game. Definitely works quite nicely in a blue deck where you get to draw yourself lots and lots of cards. And whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses a life. So it's going to give your opponent a clock as well. And if you can get yourself extra card draw, it's just going to get your opponent down to even smaller life totals to be able to deal with as well. So that's nice to have. And lastly, in the 5 drops, we've got Reality Smasher. So for 4 in a colourless mana, it's a 5/5 with trample and haste, which is really nice. And whenever it becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, counter that spell unless its controller discards a card, so it protects itself a little bit there as well. That's really nice. And discarding a card may well be something very important that your opponent probably won't want to do. So moving on to the 6 drops, we've got Conduit of Ruin. So it's a 5/5. When you cast it, you may search your library for a colourless creature card with converted mana cost 7 or greater, reveal it, and then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. And the first creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less. To be perfectly honest, the tutor's great for something massive, but the fact that you can pay for a creature spell which costs 2 less every single turn is phenomenal. It's going to end up doing some really nice work for you as well there. And there are a fair few creature cards that have 7 or more mana, as you're going to see soon. So again, it's a nice little tutor on top. Next up, we've got Duplicant. So for 6, it's a 2/4 with imprint. So when it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-token creature. As long as a card exiled with Duplicant is a creature card, Duplicant has the power, toughness, and creature types of the last creature card exiled with Duplicant, and is still a shapeshifter. So that's really nice. You can bring it into battlefield, exile something massive your opponent has, and for 6 mana, this could be incredible. This could be a really, really powerful creature. So that's great. Or it can be a utility creature if needs be, to be able to do other bits and pieces with their abilities on the battlefield as well. So I do like the little bit of versatility you've got with that. Next up, we've got Scuttling Doom Engine. So for 6, it's a 6/6. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, so gets nicely over token strategies there. And whenever it dies, it deals 6 damage to target opponent as well. So this is phenomenal. It just means that the opponent's going to have to deal with it, and no matter what, unless it gets exiled, it's going to do 6 damage to the opponent no matter what. So that's really nice to have. Next, we've got something from Commander 2016, probably, I think it's a reprint, Soul of New Phyrexia. So for 6, it's a 6/6 with Trample. You can pay 5. Permanents you control gain indestructible to the end of turn. That's really nice to have. Or you can pay 5, exile it from your graveyard, and give them indestructible again. So it's just a nice 6/6 with Trample body, which is really nice, and a way of protecting your creatures as well. So nice card to have there. And lastly, we've got Steel Hellkite. So for 6, it's a flying 5/5. You can pay 2 as many times as you like to give it +1/+0 to the end of turn. Or you can pay X, destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost X whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. So if you're able to swing in, thankfully he's a flyer, so he's got a bit of evasion there. If they're able to do some combat damage to the opponent, you're going to be able to get rid of a lot of creatures that your opponent potentially has there, so that is really nice. Moving on to the 7+ drops, we've got Bane of Balaged. So it's a 7/5 for 7, and whenever it attacks, defending player exiles 2 permanents he or she controls. That's really, really nice to have. This is going to be anything. It could be creatures, it's going to be artifacts, anything at all they have to exile, and a couple of turns this is really going to do some really nice damage to the opponent, even if it doesn't manage to swing in for any. Next up, we've got Myr Battlesphere. So for 7, it's a 4/7. When it enters the battlefield, put 4 1/1 colourless Myr artifact creature tokens onto the battlefield. And whenever it attacks, you may tap X, untap Myr token creatures that you have. It gets +X/+0 until the end of turn, dealing X damage to defending player. So that's really nice. It just means those Myrs can just sit back, not do very much. If needs be, you tap them all, making this an 8/7 and doing 4 damage to the player if this ends up getting blocked as well. Else, it's just going to end up doing 12 damage straight away to a player, which is a really nice amount. And to be perfectly honest, this is a perfect show and tell target, tinker target, and all those kinds of things as well. So that's why it's in there. Speaking of really nice and powerful creatures, we've got Sundering Titan here. So for 8, it's a 7/10. When it enters the battlefield, choose a land of each basic land type and then destroy those lands. And when it leaves play, again, you get to choose a land of each basic land type and then destroy those lands as well. So that's really nice to have, to just end up doing probably a fair bit of damage to your opponents with lands. Again, it's going to do stuff to you as well, so that may be a problem, but it's probably more likely to be a problem for your opponent. Next up, we've got Artisan of Kozilek. So for 9, it's a 10/9. When you cast it, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, which is really, really nice. Get a nice enter the battlefield trigger as well on top of that. And it's got Annihilator 2, so whenever this creature attacks, defending player sacrifices 2 permanents as well. So it's just going to do some really, really nice work for you there. Really nice swing. Next, we've got Decimator of the Provinces. A lot of the emerge cards I've taken out of the cube because they just weren't doing what I was hoping they were going to do. I didn't make very much of an impact at all. This one I still quite like. So for 10, it's a 7/7. Whenever you cast it, creatures you control get +2/+2 and trample to the end of turn. And it's got trample and haste on top of that as well, which is quite nice to have. Yes, it's got an emerge cost of 6 and 3 green, so probably, again, should be in the green section, but I still wouldn't have that much of an issue paying 10 for this. Again, there are ways to reduce the costs of certain creatures as well if they are costing over 7, as we've seen beforehand there. 7/7 with giving everything +2/+2 and trample while swinging in with this as well will probably end up winning you the game, so that's quite nice to have. Next up, we've got Desolation Twin. So for 10, it's a 10/10, and when you cast it, put a 10/10 colourless creature token onto the battlefield as well. So 2 10/10s for 10? Yes, please. Next up, we've got Kozilek the Great Distortion. So for 8 and 2 colourless mana, whenever you cast it, if you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference. So you're going to end up having 7 cards in your hand after this. It's a 12/12 with Menace. You get to discard a card with converted mana cost X and counter target spell with converted mana cost X as well. So it's just a nice, got a little bit of protection on itself there. 12/12 with Menace is going to end up doing a hell of a lot of good work there. They're going to have to chump block with 2 creatures every single time, which is nice. And that's why he's in there. Again, another nice show and tell target. And last of all, we've got Metalwork Colossus. So for 11, it's a 10/10, and he costs X less to cast, where X is the total converted mana cost of non-creature artifacts you control. Plenty of those within the cube. Sacrifice 2 artifacts and return it from the graveyard to your hand. So it's got a way of getting back into your hand to be able to cast again. As far as your really powerful Eldrazi creatures, like Emrakul, for example, the original Kozilek and Ulamog, either the new one or the older one, I'd love to get hold of a copy of them. I'm very, very glad that Emrakul got banned from standard for the new one. Maybe I'd pick that up quite cheaply, so that may well be an addition I make to this section because it's still a very, very good card. Again, when I've got more money or disposable income, I'll be able to buy, and that's the plan, I'll be able to buy myself a lot of these more expensive cards as one-offs every month, just to slowly build this cube up to be even more powerful, and that's the plan. But for now, these are what I've got. I'm happy with them. If you have any suggestions for other cards that may well be, as good, if not better than what we've got in here, that makes improvements, do let me know in the comment sections below, as I really do like the fact that you guys have been doing that. It's helped me a great deal. I've already made differences in my white section of my cube, and there'll be plenty more changes over the coming months as well. Moving on to the X cost creatures we've got here. Hangerback Walker is fantastic. I really do like this card. So for X and X, enters up with X +1/+1 counters on it. Again, +1/+1 counter strategies are within my cube, so this may end up growing even bigger. And whenever it dies, you get to put a 1/1 colour stop to artifact creature token with flying onto the battlefield for each +1/+1 counter you have on it. If you've got extra mana as well, you can pay 1, tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So this can end up growing up really, really, really bigly if your opponent hasn't dealt with it, which is really nice for you to have. Either as a massive body you can swing in for. If they do remove it, then you still get the bonus of all of the Thopters as well. And the last one we've got here is Endless One. So enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. There are definitely ways to get more +1/+1 counters on creatures, depending on how you've what cards you manage to draw from my cube, for example. So this could even be bigger for the amount of money you spend. But if you've just got loads of extra mana, you've got nothing else to spend it on, you can make this 10, 11, 12, depends on how much money you've got. You can just make this absolutely massive, and it's versatile because it can come in earlier as less mana if you need it to as well. So I really do like having the versatility cards like that. Moving on to the vehicles within my cube, I did try all of them out just to see if they were all worth playing, how the mechanic would work out in my cube, and whether, we'll see which ones end up getting picked more and played more than the others. And these are the ones that made the cut. I mean, Smuggler's Copter to start off with is just an incredible card. 2 cost for a flying 3/3 that you only requires 1 power to crew is fantastic, and whenever it attacks or blocks, you get to draw a card and then discard a card. The key thing is you may draw a card and discard a card. I mean, it's highly unlikely that you're not going to want to do that anyway, and it just means you're going to be able to get through your deck quicker, find the cards that you're after as well, and it's just a really solid card to have, and I really do like it. Next up, we've got Cultivator's Caravan. I mean, it looks nice in foil as well, so happy to see that for my cube. But this one's nice and versatile, and that's why it stayed in there, because a lot of people are still using it, and I do it as well. So for 3 cost, it's a 5/5, which means you've got to have 3 powers worth of creature to crew it. But it also acts as a mana rock of any colour as well. That's the benefit you've got with this card. I do like having the versatility of, if you don't need the extra mana, crew it up, swing in for extra damage. That's really nice to have. Else, just having it as a mana rock during the game is really, really nice to have as well. And I do like versatility in cards. Next up, we've got Fleetwheel Cruiser. So for 4, you've got yourself a 5/3 with Trample and Haste, and a crew of 2. But the thing that's kept it in here is really for aggro decks as well, is the fact that when it enters the battlefield, it becomes an artifact creature until the end of turn. So on the turn it comes in, it can just come in and swing for extra damage, which is really, really nice, and it's done a good job so far. And last of all, we've got Sky Sovereign Consul Flagship. I mean, this card is just a beast. So for 5 cost, it's a 6/5 flyer with a crew of 3, so 3 powers worth of creature to crew it. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, and that is massive. A free lightning bolt whenever that happens it's great, absolutely great, and a lot of the players that I've played with have been enjoying it. So those are all the cards I have in my cube for the colourless creatures like the Eldrazi and artifacts, along with the vehicles that I have in there as well. As always, if you have any suggestions for me at all of improvements to be made to these sections, feel free to do so by putting them in the comments section below. It's really, really helped me so far with my cube, and it's definitely making a big difference in the way that my cube's been playing, especially white is playing a lot better now thanks to your suggestions. Next week's episode of MTG Cubed, I'll be going through the actual artifacts that I have in my cube, going for the mana rocks and all the other utility cards there, so do check that out on the following Tuesday. Booster Pack Friday returns at the end of this week, and we're hoping for another good pick one from this booster pack. Hopefully may even pick up a couple of cards or a card for my cube as well, which would be fantastic. I'm at this moment in time trying to make myself a standard deck for the first time to go to game day, so over the next couple of weeks, once game day's happened, I'll try and put a video log out for that so you can see how the day went and a deck tech of what I actually put together, and so hopefully we'll be able to get ourselves something good from game day. I have no idea, I haven't built a standard deck properly in God knows how long because I've just been focusing on my cube, so this could be a really interesting project for myself as well. So I'll let you know how that goes. I mean, if you'll see it on Twitter as well, and I'm talking about different cards I'm picking up and so on. So if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter here. If you enjoyed the video, do hit the thumbs up button, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because I bring out new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.